Yo, 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 congratulations. You have made it to episode 61 of CUZZO-OP. My name is Isaiah, and I'm one of the hosts here at CUZZO-OP, and I'm joined by my brother and my cousin,
Willie, also known as Arrow to the Face.
Now, I mean, and you might know what this episode is about if you've looked at the title, but if you didn't, somehow, and you want to know and you're watching us on YouTube, just peep my hoodie. We're here to talk about Dune 2, man, and we excited. I'm very excited. I've been very excited about this. You know, if you've been tapped in with us, you've been paying attention, then you know just about 5 episodes ago, we did a one-on-one episode on Denis Villeneuve and all 6 of the films that have been released by him that are majorly respected. There's more than those, but we've been talking about Denis this year. So we did it in preparation for this film, for this moment. We have been expectant, you know what I mean? And so we're excited. We're excited about this episode. We're excited to dive into this. And speaking of expectant and expectations, that's kind of where I feel like we got to start the conversation today. We got to talk. When it comes to your expectations of the concept of Dune 2, Arrow, where were you at before you saw the movie? In light of what you was hearing, talk to me about your brain in that space.
Well, I mean, first things first, for our episode on Denis, I sat here, watched his filmography. I went through it all, including watching Dune 1 for the first time. And Dune 1 I thought was interesting. I'd always heard different things. Greatest science fiction of all time. Oh, well, I'm not really into sci-fi. I just noticed a trend. I don't really tend to like them. The movie was boring. Oh, but sometimes I know that people have bad attention spans or things just aren't made for them. So I really kind of just went in open to the experience to see what is this about? And the cast, they would just had dudes, Oscar Isaac, Dave Bautista, Jason Momoa, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya. I'm like, oh, they really just got dudes here.
Cooking.
And so I enjoyed Dune 1. I just want to put that out there now in case someone didn't hear our last episode. I enjoyed it. I said, yo, people, I understand why this may not be for them, but this wasn't bad. So my expectations for Dune 2. I'd always heard that Dune 1 was a part 1 of a book. It's, the book is being told into 2 movies. And so I'm like, okay, so Dune 1 was a setup. Yeah. The layering. Maybe that's why it's boring to some people. So Dune 2, I'm expecting the second half to be paid off things from 1. I want to see that here. I want to see, layers.
Absolute.
I want to see that. So I was just looking for more of what I had from Dune 1. Really, maybe a little more action-y, because I know that a lot of people's complaints were, oh, not enough action. Okay, but that's part for later. Okay, so now we're here. So Dune 2 was really just, can you continue what you started in a really well-crafted first movie?
Right.
So my expectations were just more of the same. And I'm good, really. But then everyone started talking. When the movie starts, this is the Empire Strikes Back level. This is one of the greatest sequels of all time. This is 10 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, this is something serious. That my expectation was I'll wait for Dune 2 to maybe come out on digital before watching it, but now I might have to go. And we'll get to talking about how I feel about some of those comparisons, but overall, just those are my expectations for Dune 2, bro. What were yours? Because I know you wanted to love this.
Absolute, 100%. You know what I mean? I was on record. Go back and watch the episode, listen to the episode, talking about Timothée Chalamet getting an Oscar, talking about this is Denis. You know what it is for me? Here's my expectations. Everything you just said, I heard society talk. I saw the first reviews. I also know people love to gas shit. They love to gas shit. And when they see other people gassing shit, they want to gas it even more.
Right.
And then you got the people who try to be too cool for school and be like, it was all right.
Right.
I knew it was going to be somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the okay, maybe not the greatest film of all time, because I think people are wilding, but maybe a titan sci-fi film. Maybe a film that's like, I'm going to look back 20 years from now and be like, I was there. I was part of that movement when we went and saw it. You know what I mean? So my expectations for the film were this. I watched a lot of interviews because I went to go see Tenet in 70 millimeter film in IMAX, and they gave us a glimpse of Dune 2. It was about 2 minutes worth of the film, and it was about the middle of the film. I didn't know this at the time, but seeing that, John, bro, cinematography off rep. It was the scene when the Fremen hop out of the sand and they pull up on Josh Brolin's gurney, and it was just astonishing to see it with no context. You know what I mean? To go from this gritty, him playing his little 6-7 string instrument to this moment. So my expectations for this film were built up by the film itself. It was built up by Denis himself, looking at interviews, him talking about how this is a story he's wanted to make since high school. It adds to the initial film, and then now this sequel, like you said. A lot of people saying, you know, Dune 2 is the back quarter of the book, and Dune 1 is the first 3 quarters. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like, what can we really get out of a back quarter of a book? It must be really, really filled with something. I'm going into the film like, I want to see something. Show me something. I love Denis. He's my second favorite director of all time. So I'm definitely biased. But I also can't say he's missed. I just can't. There's a lot of people who stand with me on that. Like, he just know what he's doing. So I pulled up to the theater, very excited about this. And that's when I think that's the next step of our conversation here, right? Let's talk about this theater experience. Did you see this by yourself?
Yeah, I did. I did watch this alone.
Okay,
You
okay.
know, nobody that I really know has seen the first one.
Okay.
I had, again, only just watched it for the first time. And I was considering waiting for it to come to digital, you know, and then some personal stuff started happening with me where it came to the point where I almost said, you might have to run this with your boys as a solo IV CUZZO-OP episode, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go and see this with everything I had going on.
Sure.
And then I just took time one day where, you know, I just needed peace of mind. It wasn't even about having it. I made time for myself to say, this is something I need to go do for me.
Good.
So I went and watched this movie alone, bro. Solo dolo. Went there, watched it, took it all in, and then came right back home. And I knew that I had made the right decision. And so I'm not going to sit here and say I was fully in the right mind.
Did you see it in IMAX?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. And like I said, I'm not going to say that I was sitting here in the full 100% right mind for the movie.
Sure. Life be life, man.
Right. And luckily enough, I was able to watch it as it came out on digital on April 2nd. And so I was able to see it again. And I was able to have a more clear-minded, like, you know, things have kind of settled down in the personal. I now need to just relax and I need to take things smoothly. And so I watched it again. So I've now seen this movie twice. I'm ready for this conversation. And the theater experience, it was cool. It wasn't IMAX. I couldn't do IMAX. That would have been a little bit too much for me to try and do, but I still had the theater bumping. You know,
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure your opportunity to see this in IMAX will pop up again. And based on how we talk this conversation and we feel what's out, and we see how you felt, maybe it'll be worth it to put yourself out there. I saw it in IMAX initially. You know, I took a flight over to see my boy Steve, went out there with gang. Shout out Lewis, shout out Thomas. Went to Colorado. I bought IMAX tickets a month in advance. I said, bet, we're going to be at this spot. We bought tickets for 10:30 a.m. show. We said, all right, so we'd be out by 1:30. Easy. Have the whole day to ourselves. So we pull up. Yo, bro, I'm talking shoulder to shoulder, no seat available at a 10:30 Saturday morning show. It's stacked. The energy is electric. Everyone is expectant. Stupefied, bro. The film had us stupefied in the IMAX setting. It was just big and beautiful and well utilized. You know, even if you were, you know, unable to understand, say you can't understand the movie, you just looked at it, it was like, dang, IMAX, crazy. This is a beautiful first shot. First couple, like, we're gonna talk, but first couple shots, you're like, oh, I'm here for this. you know. So then we leave the theater and we all stupefied. And we in the car and it's mad quiet. Nobody's saying nothing except for, damn, that movie was crazy. And then I was in the passenger seat of the whip. I look back at everybody and I say, yo, y'all trying to go run that back? And they were like, tonight? I said, yeah, let's hit this 10:30 p.m. They all looked at me and they said, yeah, let's run that back. I said, say less, send me the bread. We bought the tickets, pulled back, came back to the theater that night, did not watch an IMAX, just watched it in an ordinary, but it was a Dolby Digital sound. So we got to hear the sound of the movie even better. Also, 10 out of 10 recommend, because this is Denis, bro. It's not Nolan. Hear me. It's not Nolan. He is exhausting everything he can to well mix the film and exhausting everything he can to film the movie in a beautiful way.
Right.
And it comes across. It was cool to see it in those two mediums. And that's kind of how it started for me, bro. And I went back because I needed answers also. So let's talk about it, baby. Let's dive in. You ready?
Right. Yeah. I just want to point out that just because I live in New York City, people think that, oh yeah, you got access to IMAX. No, IMAX is sold out 2 months in advance in New York City. Absolutely. Because it's one of the largest known IMAX theaters in the world.
Yeah.
You know, so right now with all these announcements of other movies returning for IMAX, bro, if I want to go watch Inception in theaters for whenever that's returning, I had to buy my tickets 5 months before they even announced it. So
you got to go upstate. It's the only place you can go.
Right. So I gotta figure that out for other movies, but it's not easy just because I live in New York City.
Yeah.
But let's get this show on the road.
All right, so let's jump into the sound of this film. All right, bro. One thing that I watched after I left the theater was an interview of Hans Zimmer geeking out about this and building out the sound for this movie. And fun fact, he calls Denis his partner in that. My partner in film. And I said, that's kind of crazy. That's actually kind of crazy for you to claim him as your movie partner. These two were able to create a soundtrack that ties so closely to the culture of the Fremen people and almost serves as a representation of these people. And then I feel like what I love about the sound in this movie when it comes to soundtrack in particular is that the characters have themes. They all have themes, and it's always best when characters have themes. We know that. But when he exerts power, when Atreus steps into power or steps into calling or steps into purpose, the sounds behind him are part of why the moments are so intense. Without the beauty of the sound in this movie, I don't think it would be half of the epic that it is, in my opinion. And that's why I just got to say, I loved it. I hung on every word. I caught every word. I didn't feel like I was lost in the storyline. I understood what was going on. The mixing of the vocals was done well. The nuances of small guttural noises, snorts, the idea of climbing the sandworm, all of it. If sound wasn't on par, then it wouldn't have landed. And so I really, really, really am impressed, honestly, by the mixers and the sound engineers that did their role in all of this. Just continues to astonish me. But at this level of a film, if they didn't exist, I just don't think we would be talking as highly about this film if they didn't do what they do so well. So I felt like sound was high key immaculate, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an Oscar nom for sound for this film this year coming up, in my opinion. But I'll slide it over to you. What did you think about sound in Dune 2?
Well, I mean, it was great. It was one of my favorite parts of the film, you know. Number one, you brought up the, you know, Zimmer constructing this soundtrack and everything. And I've been on record, maybe, or I've at least had discussions with friends about my opinions about Hans Zimmer.
You're on record. You're on CUZZO-OP record for that.
My man's is really good at what he does, but at the same time, I think people look at his work from a purely epic standpoint. He makes great epic stuff, but there are times where his music, while being good, doesn't feel right. It doesn't match what I feel like he should be making. I didn't feel that here. I think this might be my favorite soundtrack that he's ever done? Maybe. Because he has so many that he's responsible for that it's really difficult. But this will track up there as top 5. But you really hit it on the head with music, bro, and sound. So I want to focus on language. I want to focus on the fact that this movie took the people from Game of Thrones who were responsible for creating the High Valyrian language and teaching that to their actors and developing it so that you can find it on Duolingo. And they pulled up and made the languages in this movie so that they're not just saying gibberish. Right. You know, that's care.
Yeah, man.
If I've ever seen it.
Putting your actors through language classes is definitely care.
For a fake fictional language, right? Like, that's what's crazy about it. Again, you can learn Game of Thrones languages on Duolingo. Now, they took that crew and they brought them over here, and then maybe, 30% of this movie, some of the movie's most important parts are spoken through this language. And you can feel the intensity because of the way the words are structured, as well as the acting. But again, to just focus on sound, care was put into this movie in this department, 10 out of 10. 100%. No question. No question. So that's sound, bro. This is a movie to look at when you're talking, I want to see what this is about. When to start a music, keynote, let it play out, have it fade into the background, then come back in. When to cut the music and just let the noises of the film be the emphasis of it. We saw it in Oppenheimer last year. Yeah. We're seeing it again this year, bro. 10 out of 10 sound, man.
It's a beautiful, beautiful outing by the sound guys. 100%. It's insane. You know, down to explosions. It's just really well thought through and cared about. Right. You know, I'm
happy.
It was just as cared about as the cinematography. So I think we should just talk about how these two couple, right? Cinematography here, Dune, like, dude, in that initial scene when the Harkonnens are, is it the Harkonnens in the beginning? The guys who, I think it's Harkonnens. They float.
Black Manta looking dudes.
Yeah.
I believe so, and
it's
if
either
not,
the Harkonnens,
it's part of the Royal Guard.
Yeah, no, it's the Harkonnens or it's the assassins that they hire. I can't remember their names right now, but when they float up to get up the mountain to get high ground on the Fremen, because they know they being, bro, everyone was losing their minds off the special effects concept of like, where are the wires? Why does this look so seamless? This is insane. And I think that when I was watching an interview of Denis, he said, this is how I do all of the writing for my movies. I write the movie out. After I write the movie out, I storyboard everything. After I storyboard everything, I rewrite the movie again based on the storyboards. Because sometimes during the storyboard process, I find things that I wouldn't have found until I gave myself a visual opportunity to explore the story. Brilliant. And you could tell that this was one of those moments where when he wrote it and he did it in the storyboard format, he said, this is going to be the pin drop moment. The moment where everyone goes, oh shit, this movie's going up. It's going up. Fire. Scenes like that are crazy. And I'm sure you have other scenes and I have scenes. I want to talk about those, our favorite scenes. But here's something that I want to just say. This is Denis' most mature outing when it comes to cinematography and the usage of cinematography as well. I see a lot of Oppenheimer comparison with Nolan combining everything he learned from Inception, the Dark Knight series, Tenet, Memento, everything all to get together into Oppenheimer. I see a lot of Prisoners. I see a lot of Blade Runner. I see a lot of all of these, even Sicario with some of the guerrilla fighting. I see a lot of that making its way here. And there's a maturity to the way that the camera is held and dealt with throughout this whole film. Things could have come off quite cheesy on cam if not thought through in a mature way. And I think that you can tell, even down to the way that that damn sandworm scene went down. You know, you can watch the interviews and hear him talk about it scene by scene. There's actually a video out from Vanity Fair where he breaks down the scene of him riding the sandworm. Every detail, every moment, bro. Down to they made sand dunes out there using trucks to get the right angle where the sun would hit the sand in a certain way so that it looked great in the composition of the way the storyboard was crazy, bro. Like the most minute details thought through. I love that, man. I just love seeing a geek who wanted to make this movie since he was 14, 15, doing it now. And you can tell there's passion in that cinematography just as much as there's passion in that sound. Freaking, it was that IMAX outing, bro. I was eating out the palm of his hand. I gotta be honest with you, bro. I gotta be honest with you, man. It was fire. It was very fire. But I'm just getting started on cinematography. I'll let it slide.
Sure.
I'll let you slide it over. What's up?
I saw online. I probably should have confirmed it, but you know, why not take a chance and sound stupid on the internet? That during their filming process, they were able to capture a partial eclipse from the moon going over the sun, which is used in the beginning of the movie when Lady Jessica, right, is crushing Homeboy's head in with a rock. Yeah. There's a shot of the sun with the moon in the back, and apparently that's real.
Interesting.
Now, if I sound stupid on the internet, add it to the list. But if that is the case, bro, then some things just got to align for the movie to work the way it does, right?
It's meant to be, bro.
So there were many shots in this film that I thought were really well selected. I love that Denis has come out and spoken about how the sandworms, they built partial sets for what really mattered, because it mattered that you see in the moment that the sandworm does kind of move a little bit and you can see it in its inner workings, like his side kind of flexes in certain muscles,
like his
and
gills
things
almost.
Like that. And like, we got to focus on this, and if we only focus on it for 2 seconds, it'll make the whole scene feel much more alive. Like, I like that. I like that he thought of those things. You know what you're speaking about with the storyboarding, it reminds me a lot of Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Because Dave is a drawer. He likes to just draw. He'll have sketch notes, and he doesn't go anywhere without his pens and stuff. And so he's posted pictures from like Ahsoka where you're the at the end of the Ahsoka show with the hand of the father pointing and Balin standing on it. He's like, hey, I drew this 2 years ago, and I knew that this shot needed to make it in. And I like when directors and producers and creatives storyboard how they're going to hold the camera rather than just writing and hang out there with the camera. They write their whole movie out. They storyboard it so that they have the plan already to go. They can decide, this is the shot that I'm ready to go in with the plan.
Absolutely.
So in this category specifically, 9 or a 10, bro. 9 or a 10.
Crazy. So, it's crazy. Another one of my shots I loved was I very much loved the scene when Shani Zendaya's character shoots the rocket into the copter. And it was a synergy of sound and cinematography here, because she shoots it, we see it get hit, and then the next scene is her running to him, like from cover to cover, and everything is silent, and all you hear is her going and laughing that she hit it, like geeking out over the thrill of the fight and the success of blowing the copter up. And then when the copter hits the ground, boom, the music goes, nah. Like, bro, they just beautiful, man. They curated every moment. Love that scene. Another thing I love about the cinematography, man, is we know that we could stay here a little longer. I actually cut a pillar off of our normal talk when it comes to CUZZO-OP. We usually do 5 pillars here, but I got 4 tonight, because cinematography, bro, that's actually one of the ways that Denis tells the story. He'll let dialogue not exist. He'll let you hear a language that was just created that you don't understand and are reading subtitles of, because he's so confident that what's on the camera, what you're seeing in the shot, says a lot. And that's a lot of what I loved about Denis in this movie too. When I say mature, an example, when Paul's mom she takes the water, the water of life, and she's convulsing after the fact, there's a moment when the two factions of the Fremen, the younger cats that are fighters that want to see Fremens free, and then the people led by Javier Bardem that are the fanatics, they believe in the prophecy. The camera does this thing where it just swings back and forth between the two factions while they're yelling at each other. Says, you just killed her. No, it's supposed to happen. It's written. Going back and forth. And then the shot ends up with both camps on both sides. And then you see Paul sitting there with his mom. There are moments like that where Denis will create separation amidst the Fremen people without having to say much and using the camera to do the saying and help you grasp, okay, there's camps. Okay, there's concepts here. That is what I loved about this film. There's a lot of camera work that does the storytelling. Another example, I noticed it immediately, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this. So I'm going to say it here nice and loud and proud. If you go back to Dune 1, when Paul Atreides starts to get his visions, yeah, thumbs up for you. When he starts to get his visions, the camera does this thing with the bluish, reddish lens flare where it's like a slow transition of fade to his vision from reality. It's very distorted to a degree where it's hard for him to make out what he sees. Even the first scene he has in the beginning of the Dune movie, before he wakes up when the rain scene's on his face, before he goes to sit with his mom, you get this idea of his visions through the camera. His visions aren't clear to him. In this movie, when he gets a vision, when we see him in the beginning of the film, that transition from vision to reality is clearer and quicker, and you see the lens happen faster. And it's because his ability to see these things and grasp his abilities in the voice and what he has at Bene Gesserit, it's increasing. But we never hear that he's grown it. We don't hear that it's gotten better or that it's gotten stronger. We just figure it out because it happens. And when you know that and you notice it, and then you go back and watch the movie again, you start to realize other things. Like in the beginning of the movie, he's not sleeping and dreaming. He's talking to his sister using his abilities when he's laying on that sand. And I'm like, yo, the camera said all of this to us, but we didn't know it because it's subtle and it's for you to pick up if you want, if you need to, if you can, and it deepens the movie experience. These are things that create timeless films to me. When there's more to go back and digest, there's more to return to. There's a way that the movie can mature to you as the viewer. And cinematography is one of the main ways that Denis does that. So I love how he did these things, man. I thought cinematography was not just 10 out of 10. I felt like he broke the scale on this one, bro. I'll be real with you. He raised the bar.
True. I could understand that. Listen, since you brought up the visions, I just want to point out the connection of, like, in the first movie where he's seeing Zendaya, right? And there's just flashes and flashes and flashes leading to something unknown until then he sees her and he sees, oh, this is how this, now we understand the visions. So now when we're seeing his sister from the future, and we're seeing his visions of her, but it is also kind of like bringing us to a future point that we don't know. But now that we know that we're going to get there, we're like locked in a little bit more now. Now it's just more than just flashes of a girl. Now this is dead ass the future.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for anything that could give me any kind of like understanding of where we're going from here, you know?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. They kept this alive, that it wasn't just, oh, I needed flashes of Zendaya in my life and now I'm all good. No, now he's still seeing something else. Now there's something else he's moving forward to. So
yeah, and it plays a role for his character and not being able to be present sometimes, or the weight of his presence and what it means to be Atreides, what it means to be Muad'Dib, what it means to be Lisan al-Gaib. Like there's this, the camera does a lot of that confusion, pressure, weight, responsibility work for us to understand what it means for him. Even in the most climactic, one of the most climactic moments for him was just when he decides that he's going to go south, when he decides that he's going to go toward where he doesn't want to go, where he feels like if he goes there, he's going to have the massacre from the vision that he saw. But what I also love is the camera misleads us as the viewers, because a lot of the things we saw in the first film as visions, like him fighting all those people and then his mask dropping off, it's Zendaya that's doing that. It's Shani that's doing that. So it's like we get our ankles broken by the camera. And I love it. I love
Right.
that we get to feel his disillusionment from his visions with him. Very well done by Denis. And yeah, man, cinematography, OD fire, very fire. Fight scenes, crispy. I thought the fight scenes were very good in this movie. I'm not saying that like I haven't seen better fight scenes. I'm not gonna go out there and say all that. But for what we're talking about here, when we're talking about like hand-to-hand combat, you know, like the scene from the infrared shot, we can't even move forward without talking about the Harkonnen infrared shots. Austin Butler's character in that ring fighting those guys, it's not like the most complex fight. Like the Bucky and Captain America fight is 10 times better from a choreography standpoint, but it's just the choreography and the cinematography and the sound of the crowd roaring. It all adds together to a moment. And that's what this movie's filled with, moments.
Correct.
Very cool moment.
Yeah, I mean, combat for me, bro, it was simple and yet not, right? Because there are rules to this universe that they follow with the shields and the blades, and so the fight was it was interesting because it's very like, you know, like it's like Star Wars where they're going like huge dashes at each other with long swords. No, these are small blades that require you to maneuver, and I like that. I like medieval fantasy type sword fights where they're going at each other, Game of Thrones style, Witcher, like. So I enjoyed what I saw here, but like you said, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm walking out of here thinking this is top 5 combat film, TV. Like, no, bro. Like, but for what the world needs, I don't want the big and flashy. I like the sand movements and the small shank. You got to keep it moving, or the dodging and having to hit slow with the blade to penetrate the shield. I like it. It's cool. It matches the nitty gritty vibe of this world really well.
Yes, it does. It does. They did that well, man. They did it well. I didn't like the end fight. I wasn't the biggest fan of the end fight. I felt like it was kind of anticlimactic when I saw it the first time. Then I saw
with Paul and Austin Butler.
With Paul and Austin Butler's character, yeah. What's Paul?
I believe it's like Fade,
yeah,
Rotha. Something like that.
Yeah, Fade Rotha. I understood what it needed to be, and like we're saying here, there's a lot weighing on that moment. That moment is monumental, but then I started realizing stuff when I started looking up there. It's crazy because it's a callback. The fight, this moment where all of everything is on the line for Paul. The reason why he wins is because of Gurney and Gurney's training of him in the first movie. This idea of, I've got the final blow and all I'm focusing on is killing you, to the point where I'm not paying attention to where you can also kill me too. Gurney does that to him in their training, and he talks to him about the importance of paying attention to that. And that's exactly how he beats Fade. He knows Fade wants the kill so bad, he gets into his head and he figures out a way to get him. And I liked it. I liked that. The rest of the fight, I mean, cool. You know, no, the whole Dark Knight Rises, no soundtrack. All you hearing is hands moving and breath work.
I like that. I like that. You know, for me, it mirrors the end of Dune 1, where Paul is called to be the champion for his mother.
That's true too.
Right? And he hadn't taken a life at this point. So that entire fight, he is trying to not be in the fight while being in the fight.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here, he's the one standing on his ground talking about choose your champion.
Yeah.
Because I'm ready to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now, you watch the first movie, you see he was trying to ask him to beg for mercy.
Yeah.
No, he pulled up to this fight.
Yeah.
So, character-wise, I like the fight for where it's at for Paul.
Sure.
The noise and hearing the grunts and the blades, I like that. I said that in sound. But as a final fight, I was also like, damn, I wish it was a little bit more, but I'm fine with it. To the people online saying that it's a top 5, no. I heard people calling it better than the Battle of Heroes. I know that the Battle of Heroes tends to be very over choreographed, but it fits the world. We're talking about what fits the world, and you're not beating the battle heroes with what I saw in Dune 2. For me, I'm sorry.
I think Fade Rotha as a character his stakes as a character, he's not important to Paul enough for it to be talked about on a battle heroes level or any of these top 5 movies. Like, stop. This is one of the best sci-fi movies I've ever seen in my life. And it is definitely instantaneously in my top 5 I've ever seen ever. Hands down. I'll put it up there. After I saw it the second time, I was like, damn, I'm going to have to make some moves and readjustments. I'm going to have to go watch some movies because this is high-level film. I'm not even going to lie to you. Not even high-level film, high-level experience. Therefore, as an experience, I'll give it to them because the whole journey says a lot. But if you saying this right here is the climactic fight and you think it's one of you're wilding out. But you made a good point with that fight on that, echoing back to the first film. I think that's also another thing Denis is really good at, right? He's good at patterns. He's good at, I've seen this scene before. Where have I seen it before? Oh, snap. I saw it at the beginning of the movie. Oh, the ending looks like the beginning. Oh, like he's good at those types of things. We saw it in Arrival a ton when he was making this circle concept. The end is the beginning is the end. That's similar to the movie. We see the beginning of this film is Paul sleeping, talking to his sister. The beginning of Dune was him sleeping, having a dream. The end of this film is a fight. The end of this film is a fight as well. The end of Dune was on Shani's face. Dune 2, we're seeing Shani as she journeys out. There's a lot of parallels and correlations that Denis did right from the beginning. He wanted to stay true to. And I think that also adds to why the movie hits too. There's a subconscious nature to it that he knows about and he plays to the language of. Very smart. But let's talk writing, bro. Let's move into the writing because of that, right? That's something he wrote ahead of time. He wanted to get done. Do you like this script? Do you like the script of Dune 2?
We know that Denis is on record for talking about dialogue and how he doesn't really necessarily put its importance above a lot of other things, right? I was interested. I was intrigued. You know, there are moments where some may feel like are purposeless, and I would disagree. You know, from even Paul walking up on them where they're cracking jokes, and he's like, "What y'all laughing at?" And they're like, "Fuck you, bro. Get away from us." Like, some would say that's nothing, but I mean, I overall, it kept it moving. I thought it was good. But I'd be lying if I told you it's more memorable than a lot of the other things, you know? I think it's a script that tells a story that's worth diving into once the movie is over, but not necessarily a script that people are going to be coming away from and saying, oh, this is the greatest. But the monologues, when the characters are in their bag, I could give it to them on those things. You know, sometimes a good monologue is enough.
What's one of the monologues you enjoyed?
Paul's. Was it before or after he and Butler have their fight?
You talking about the one when he pulled up on the gang, or the one before when he tells her to be silent?
So the silent thing, that was cool, bro. That was a great.
That was a fire scene.
That's a callback where she tells him in Dune 1, silence. And he just comes and the silence. He said it with his chest, bro. Had you sit down, and everyone was stunned. The mom was pleased.
She said abomination.
Jessica goes over there like this. I told you.
She said abomination.
Right.
I said your pride is shot.
Shook. Yeah. But you know, when he was just in his bag, bro. Maybe all of Paul's little baggage moments, but I'm talking like when he's in the room going around in the circle and he pulls up and he sits, like he kneels down and he's looking like he about to be on the album cover. That
was fire.
But I think you're also talking about when he pulls up outside and everyone's there and he's like, he puts his fist up and yeah. When they had people in their bag, I thought it was pretty good. But nothing too crazy for me. But it's nothing bad. Like, I can't say it was horrendous. It wasn't bad. It was good. How do you feel? Because I feel like I can't really tell how you feel about this.
I think that the same way that there are layers to the cinematography, there's some layers to the writing. Not all the time. And there is a lack of consistency to that layering. That parts is the negative, I would say. If there's anything negative in this movie, it would be somewhere in the script. But it's hard. I would have to really be nitpicking, me personally. Like, for example, what you said there when it's like, what are y'all laughing at? You know, it's like when he's saying, what are y'all laughing at? He's trying to enmesh himself in their culture. He already told his mom that they need to turn and respect him in order for them to catch this W and for him to be who it is, that desert power, to accomplish the mission that he came out here and followed the path into the desert for. So it leaves you with these moments of who is Paul, and is Paul a good guy, right? We know Herbert wanted it to be understood through this book that Paul is not a good guy. Paul's not a good guy at all. He's not the hero of this story in any way, shape, or form. No matter how many people are yelling he's the Messiah, you know, he's not a good person. And neither are, he's trying to say, majority of these white heroes that we built up and make a big story out of in all these freaking pieces of fantasy and sci-fi, they tend to also be fake, because majority of them are evil and human, if we're really honest. That's his whole point. And I think that Denis did a good job by having all of the decision making on whether he's a good person or not be based on the perspectives of the characters around him, specifically the women around him. And I think that the writing does that part. There's shots that do it too, but the writing conveys that concept. The thing that the 14-year-old Denis fell in love with, he used the language and the writing to get that across the most in this film, in my opinion. You know, like when Paul says, what's the name of that little field mouse? When they ask him for his call name, well, he wants to be called his battle name. There's this, the first time you see it, you're so astonished by the moment. He just got this victory that you're like, yeah. Oh, that's hard. He's the Muad'Dib. That's the little moon and the sun. But when you watch it the second time, you realize he knew what it was called. He studied that. He was in his room in Dune 1 hearing the Muad'Dib, the small field mouse. He's hiding in that grass when the little drone comes into his room to try to kill him. Like one of the Muad. So then you're like, okay, it's simple writing, but from a perspective standpoint, as the viewer, you can see different things from that scene because of how it's written. That takes intentionality. That's the same kind of shit he was working on in Arrival. So the script has moments like that I appreciate for its depth.
You know, and with you bringing that up, I want to put in to a point that there are movies out there that get made for general audience. And then there are movies that are made for those that are willing to take the extra step to rewatch 1 and 2 and get those messages and understand those things. And I think the general audience could fall in love with this.
They did.
Denis, like you said, wanted to make this when he was a teenager and carried that with him until adulthood. Mm-hmm. So do you really think this is for a general audience only? No, it's not. It's
for both, for sure.
This is for those people that are willing to take the extra step, because he did when making the movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I heard you, bro.
Yeah, it was
you
good.
Want to get into themes?
Yeah, let's talk themes now. You know, let's talk themes. Talk to me about what you noticed, what you like, what stuck with you a little bit. What's up with that?
The dangers of a prophet, you know, subscribing to someone that is just as human as you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've seen prophecies and we've seen things like this happen before, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Anakin Skywalker as the chosen one, and everybody believing that that's who he is, putting that pressure on him and believing him that he could do no wrong as the chosen one is what makes Darth Vader.
Yep.
And it cripples all of them, right? And so then we look here at Paul, and I believe Paul even says a few times, like, I can't be that. But then he becomes it because everyone around him is looking to him to become that. He becomes the prophet, and there's danger to that. And I think there are hints of what that danger is that will get answers later. to how dangerous it is. But I like that that's the story here. Because at the end of the day, people like to compare Dune to Star Wars, and I think people need to relax.
They need to chill with that.
They need to relax.
I would say it's more Lord of the Rings.
Dune is better than Star Wars, but Star Wars, guys, they're separate, bro. Just because it takes place in this, I know that there's a chance that George Lucas was inspired a lot from Dune in many ways. I get it. I know that the guy who wrote the Dune books didn't really care for the fact that George Lucas was kind of biting off of him, so he put in his book as a definition of someone who copies the things of someone else, he called them 3POs as like a diss. But let's relax. Star Wars and the Chosen One prophecy is a twisted thing that ultimately does succeed because Anakin at the end of the day, he was the Chosen One.
Yeah.
But this story is so different that I'm intrigued to see what happens next in this. I don't know if you would call it a false prophet or the dangers of prophets in general. Like, how would you describe this? Because no matter what, it's interesting to see how when people push you to become that, you can take it a step further than the people that they were fighting to begin with. And that's something that's always done.
Yeah. You know, I honestly don't even call him a false prophet. I really call him a force prophet. Because at the end of the day, there's a level to him where when he came onto the planet the first time, and when he comes to Dune for Dune 1, he's like, you hear them calling me Messiah? That's that propaganda, that Bene Gesserit propaganda you got jumping. But that's the same guy who claims power in the circle when he's sitting there with the album cover look. That's the same guy sitting in the camp talking about, I got to figure out how to get this power and influence. Then it's the same guy who's talking to Gurney about, they once used to be my friends, now they're my followers. The way it's written, you know what I mean? I don't know what the book has to say. I did not read the book. But what Denis does through the script of the movie and a theme that's there is an unreliable, forced prophet. A prophet forced to become who it is that he was always designed to be. And I like that notion. I like that a lot because it plays on the human. And then it also plays on this concept, like we said earlier, of who Paul is being decided by who's around him, not by who he thinks he is, how the women around him respond. This puts Shani on one end of the spectrum and then his mom on the other end of the spectrum of what type of person he is and what he's here for. I like that theme. I like that for him. You know what I mean? And I like that Dune, at the end of the day, right? The movie's called Dune. It's about the planet, you know? It's not just about Paul. It's about all the people that are involved in this situation. So I like how he uses all the people in the situation to tell the whole story. It's not just one person's story. I appreciate that a lot about the theme. And yeah, so that'd be my response to you. But another theme that I also like about in this movie is power, bro. Whoever controls the spice controls the world. You know what I mean? And I think that as a notion is slept on. You forget about it sometimes. Like, it's like these guys are fighting over this planet, you know? But what's wild is that the goal of the Fremen is not just to own the planet and pay respect to it, but they want to get off the planet. They want to see water. They want to see paradise. They want to see expansion. There are people who believe the Messiah is coming to take them for this jihad moment in the end of the movie. And I think that as a notion is interesting too, because what is success? What is happiness to these characters? When you look at those two factions between the fanatics and the younger tribe that were just warriors and love to fight and stand for their planet, they have different goals. And then again, Shani becomes a representation of that. And I love Zendaya in this movie, bro. I know we're about to talk actors and actresses, but there's just so many themes.
Right. So power-wise, you know, in the first movie, it's kind of why they're here in the first place. Oscar Isaac said, you know, we control air power, we control ground power, we need desert power. The Fremen have that, you know? So the power concept, I mean,
yeah,
it's there, bro. People gonna open their eyes, bro. But I think that theme-wise, funny enough, as we sit here and attempt to talk about it, it's like, this is 2 out of 3, you know? The trilogy ain't over yet.
It is.
So, like, we can try to talk these themes, but, like, we can't conclude. we can't talk about the dangers of Paul being the prophet until Messiah.
Right.
We can't sit here and talk about power and those concepts until Messiah, right?
I agree.
I want to talk real quick about the Emperor and his snaky business that he was pushing forward. That joint was crazy, and clearly the dudes that made that snake deal with him, you know, they got put in their place, bro, because they chased the power, bro. You know, I forgot where this comes from, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I'm upset that I can't think of it right now. Maybe you'll know it, bro. It's the whole concept of, you know, oh, Oppenheimer, silly me. Power.
Yeah.
Stays in the shadows, you know? You can't let it go out into the sun because then you get caught.
Yeah.
Like Strauss. So, the themes here are cool, bro. But let's talk acting, bro, because I got some maybe hot takes or maybe not here. So let's
go
talk
off.
about
You go
this.
first. You go first.
You want me to? No. You go first, bro.
If Timothée Chalamet isn't, you know, given an Oscar this year or a nomination for this year for this film, I think that would be a loss, in my opinion. As much as the movie is about a ton of things and a bunch of people, like I just said, Timothy cooked. Every scene that he was in, he was gripping. He cooked. That scene where he comes in there, he says he's the voice from the outer world, yelling in a different language. That shit hard. Very hard scene. You know,
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and from a technical standpoint, I feel a lot of tension in his character through his acting. Things he does in his eyes, things the way he loves Shani. But he also knows he's outside for a reason. Things that are so little moments. You know, I appreciated his acting a lot in this film. I felt like even riding the sandworm, man. I thought that like the scene of climbing up there and breathing deep and trying to figure out, oh snap, I stood in the wrong spot. Like I went too far to the right. Him as a character, you just believe what he's trying to put forward, and that's the danger of how good of an actor it is. And I think that's what they saw. I think Denis saw that from the beginning, and he knew Timothy was going to be somebody who could get to that point. So just really well casted, in my opinion. I thought, listen, if he doesn't get his Oscar off this, it's undeniable. He's cooked. Wonka and Dune both grossing highly right now at this moment. Respect, bro. You cooked. Yeah. You cooked.
I'm not going to say that he's got the Oscar in the bag because
nah, we don't.
I'm the guy who likes to see everybody and then, but
nommed. He needs to be nommed.
Especially
he's
if
so
you consider
young,
like, right. I was having a conversation with some Discord people, you know, in a little debate of, you know, because someone on Twitter posted that Leonardo DiCaprio has no iconic movies and is extremely overrated as an actor. And I'm like, number one, Titanic is iconic. We're not going to sit here and act like that. Number two,
like idiots.
You going to tell me that Leonardo isn't an icon in the acting industry? And then they drop their definition of iconic as classic. Like, no, those are two different things, homie. This generation of actors that everybody knows, Brad Pitt, Leo, Tom Cruise, RDJ, it's a generation that's getting older.
It is.
And the new generation is coming to bat. And I'm thinking of some names in this new generation that deserve to be taken seriously. We got Timothy, in my opinion, taking Leonardo's potential role as someone who's going to go down in the books, bro. We got Florence Pugh. I think she's a part of this new generation of high-class acting.
She's an A-tier, in my opinion.
Austin Butler. You know, we're going to get to their roles in this movie as I mentioned them, but Zendaya, these are this next generation of actors, and Denis knew that he needed to use them in this film. Because now in history, he's going to say, I had them here. Because in 20 years, when we're talking about them here, we're going to all look to this little pinpoint in time of, this is where they started, and I gave them that opportunity. He's going to be flexing that. Trust.
Mm-hmm.
Timothée Chalamet is this new generation Leo as it currently stands to me, and I don't think anybody else is close to touching him in that department. Even from Little Bird, bro. or Little Women, whatever that movie, Free Bird and Little Women, or whatever the hell the movies is called, bro.
Yeah. Even
he was fire in that, bro. So
he was even in Interstellar, bro. I said, "Oh, that's Timothy. That's crazy."
True. Heard Nolan, right?
Come on, man.
He needs this new Timothy though. He needs to run it back.
Yeah,
he be running it back sometimes. You know how it is. Zendaya was cool, bro. I'm glad that she was in this movie for more than 5 minutes. Somebody else in this movie has a new title for the 5-minute girl in the movie. Zendaya was cool, bro. I think her moments with Timothy is what shined. I'm not saying she deserves to be nominated for an Oscar, but I think that there's stuff here.
I think that's the definition of a supporting actor.
Really?
Yeah, I think a supporting actor is an actor that's on the scene supporting the movement and the effort of the people around them.
Right. I was thinking that like main, but supporting I could 100% see. Like she's not going to be, if she's nominated for main actress, no.
I don't think she'll win.
But supporting, I could more so understand. I was thinking like king and queen type stuff, you know, like.
Yeah, I feel that.
Not Prince and
Bro,
Princess.
there's shit she does. There's shit she does with her eyes in this film. Fire. With her eyes. Just her eyes, nothing else. The eyes. And you know, their eyes are blue, so it's all accentuated. You know what I mean? And I think, and I'm pretty sure there's an interview where Denis says this about her eyes. Like, have you seen her eyes? Did you see the way she was using her eyes in that film? As soon as I saw that shit, I said, yeah, I need more shots like this. I need more shots like this. I need more shots like this. And he put them in there and he scattered them through it. I liked her on this, bro. I really did. I felt like this was a big performance for her career, actually.
I agree. And you know what? I'm going to put my hot take out there, more so against the internet. I feel like people don't take her as serious because she was on Disney Channel in some Marvel projects.
I think that's so stupid.
I think that if you go and watch Spider-Man No Way Home, with all the back and forth that people on the internet have about this movie, it's undeniable that Zendaya in that movie cooked more than people give her credit for as a supporting girlfriend to the main antagonist who's dealing with her own stuff too. The same way that you say you saw stuff in her eyes, it's been there since No Way Home, bro, where she looks at Peter for the last time knowing that her memory is going to get wiped. You could see it in her face, bro, but people don't like to look at that. So Zendaya, when we say that this movie was important for her, it was, because I think this is where people might start taking her a bit more serious than they are in the other movies. You get what I'm saying?
I agree. She's done some smaller films. She's done the Malcolm and Marie Netflix special. She's done these things that I'm hoping that this opens up doors for her and we get more, you know. I know she's got that Challengers movie coming out. She just cooked. Great job, Zendaya. You did a great job. You were one of my favorite parts of this movie. And you are the major story character of this film in terms of perspective.
Correct.
Like you were the vehicle that was chosen and trusted, you know. And I think you stewarded it really well. You cooked.
Correct.
And we saw you, Shani. We saw you about to ride out on the sandworm just like your supposed mother did in the first film, the environmentalist that is about to go and then she ends up getting killed. That was the callback to her doing the same thing her mom did in the first film. You cooked it. You were cooking. We saw you, okay? You know who else was cooking, though? Florence Pugh was cooking.
Okay.
Florence Pugh was cooking. And I think, like I said earlier, I think she's an A tier. I think she is one of the best out. And I think
I agree 100%.
She has an intense amount of versatility. And I think we need to stop playing with her and just make sure you put respect on her name. Because she could do a little 80, 75 Rotten Tomato rating movie with Morgan Freeman. And she can do these high-level sci-fi films. She can do Oppenheimer as a more minor supporting role. And she can be Black Widow's sister in Marvel. And she's cooking in all avenues on every
Midsummer, bro.
Midsummer. I just like her. You know what I mean? I just think every time she's on screen, you can't help but like her. She's great.
I agree.
And this film is no different. I love that we're going to see more of her. I love that she's the other end of the romantic decisions that Paul makes. I'm excited that their chemistry is one that we saw in Little Women, and I hope we hate that. I hope that Denis uses and leverages that chemistry, because we're supposed to see hatred between them and Messiah. You know, we're supposed to see there's beef. I don't know how they'll do it, but I'm excited. I think she'll play it well, no matter what.
I agree. So I'll move on to Christopher Walken. Right?
Yeah, talk your shit, please.
I didn't care for him much as the Emperor.
Trash.
I did not think he had presence that every other actor in this movie had at some point or another.
Trash.
Whether it be Bautista or Stellan Skarsgård or Javier Bardem. They all did stuff with their scenes that Walken kind of just feels like he showed up because his big name, because the first movie had a lot of big names, so they needed his big name here, and he did what he did, and that's it. Maybe on a third watch I'll appreciate it, but as this supposed emperor, I'm like, Florence carrying your scenes, bro. How you gonna let that happen, bro? Do you know who you are, bro? That is crazy. And I take it you agree.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, well, the narrative kind of allows for it. The Emperor really was just a pump in when you look at the Bene Gesserit and you really think about the fact that Princess Arula, the main character out of the royalty, like I've heard it all, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but it's Christopher Walken. That John felt like Christopher Walkoff.
All right.
It was not good. I didn't really appreciate him as an actor in this one. But hey, man,
there's so many others, bro.
Yeah, you pick your. Yo, let's talk Rebecca Ferguson, bro. Yo, dog, when are we gonna stop acting like she's not the GOAT? Like she's not one of the GOATs in the actress world. She's one of the GOATs. Stop playing with her and put respect on her name.
The smirk after the silence was enough for me, dog. That was enough for me. Because you could tell it all, bro. You could tell everything about that character from just a small smirk.
She cooked, bro. The acting that's going on when she's drinking it and it's going into her system, that's acting. You're watching acting. She's dying from a poison live on camera. And it's not no Denzel Washington death. Like it's not one. She was viscerally responding through acting, and it was hard. The scene was so good when the old lady, the old woman that she was taking the role of, realized that she's pregnant. It's Rebecca that carried that scene.
What have we done?
It was Rebecca that carried that scene, and everything else, walking around talking to herself, being a creep, being a weirdo, you know, like I love her, bro. I loved her in the first film. I loved her very much in this film as well. She's major. I'm excited to see her going forward because you see this Bene Gesserit under her, but then at the same time, you see this mother in her at the same time too. And she plays that really well. You feel it from the top of the film to the end. She killed that. Javier Bardem, he killed that.
Listen, okay.
He killed that.
I love it, bro. I love it.
You've seen him on the internet everywhere. This is some of my favorite from him since. I think people are wilding when they're like, oh, well, you know, this is probably the best he's done since No Country for Old Men. I'm like, yo, did y'all not see Skyfall? Y'all never saw him take his jaw out of his mouth in front of Daniel Craig? Y'all are wilding out. But Javier, man, I saw an interview that said he just did this film for his son.
Right. He did one for his daughter and one for his son and kept it pushing, bro. I love that. I love that. I hope the rumors about him maybe joining the MCU are true, bro.
Me too. Yeah, anything he does, he's gonna be killer at. I've never seen a poor performance from him.
Did you see the role he's rumored to be?
Who?
Galactus.
I like that for him.
That'd be cool. I loved him in this movie, bro. He brought that energy, bro. He brought that energy.
And he brought that senior energy too, like the mentor. You're gonna embarrass my teaching. You better make sure you do this right.
Right. Him and Brolin together, I think they both carried those roles as mentors, as well as, you know, like, we know our roles here, bro. We used to be in your shoes, and now we know our roles, and we're going to help carry you to where you need to be. 100%. I felt that from them very much. It was great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Butler, bro.
Yeah.
Who's out here saying that he's Heath Ledger Joker levels of villain acting?
Crazy people are. Crazy people are. And please hear me. He did great. But
right. He did fantastic, but
some people just like to say stuff, you know?
Right. Because no. The character, to me, in my opinion, bro, he wasn't around long enough to hit that.
Yeah.
He wasn't a foil to Paul in the way that Ledger's Joker was to Bale's Batman. This dude's first interaction with the kid was 2 minutes before his demise. Like, I like that he takes stuff into his own hands, you know, kissing Skarsgård and stuff and doing whatever he needed to. Because he was unsettling. But let's not act like they're the same.
Wilding out. Y'all are wilding out. He doesn't have enough of a reason to exist for him to even in his writing, for y'all to have compared him to Heath Ledger. I think that y'all just, this again, we said this in the beginning of the episode. People just like to say shit on the internet, you know, and I could never say something. I know some people are like, you can't say that about Heath Ledger. He's dead. It has nothing to do with him dying. That's just another point. That performance is elite. I don't even like hearing anybody talk about Javi. I don't even like hearing anybody talk about Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. Oh, well, he did just as well as Heather. I don't want to hear none of that from you. Shut up.
Don't say that. That's different. But we know how you feel. We gotta dive into that deeper. We need to dive into that deeper later, bro.
I'm just saying, stop saying and comparing actors to other actors. Let's talk about, did Austin do a great job? He did. Correct. He cooked. I liked his character, but at the end of the day, he also was a character that was an extension of another character through this film.
Right.
And he continued to be an extension until he died. So it's like, I liked him. I love, but even the press tour has been interesting because they painted it like this rivalry. It's not a rivalry. That's not what this is at all. You know what I mean? Like, Paul is looking at him like, yo, bro, you like my little cousin I play basketball with. Like, I'll let you get a couple shots off. Like, that's the vibe. So stop acting like it's not. But did he accomplish the assignment? Yeah. Good job. Butler, you go.
People want to say stuff, bro. People want to say stuff on the internet. I'll say stuff on the internet, bro. Scar from The Lion King, bro. Jeremy Irons. I'm taking that over this dude's performance, bro. If we're talking iconic villainy, stop it, bro.
Yeah, you are.
Stop it. I can't even tell you the dude's name right now, bro. I've seen the movie twice, bro. It's not memorable to me. Are there any other actors that we got in this movie that we feel the need to discuss? I know there's gonna be someone out there that's like, but you left out. But
there's so many, bro. There's David Dost.
Cool, bro.
There's David Dost. Every time I see David Dost, I love seeing him. You know, Skarsgård. But yeah, the story continues. So I think we'll continue to talk about who's important in time when this next film comes out. But let me get, we'll talk before we talk about that. Let me get ratings from you, bro. Scale from 1 to 10. What do you give this film?
A 9. I give the movie a 9.
That's fair.
Now let me talk real quick, bro. Actually, let me hear your rating and then let me hit something. Let me hit you with something.
I give it a 9.5. Easy.
Okay, I don't do that. You know I don't do the 0.5s. I hit you with the 1, 2, 3, 4. I follow Letterboxd, you know what I'm saying? So
all right. So I would probably, if I had to go up, I would have a hard time just giving it a 9. I feel like I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
That's fair. A lot of people, bro. It's one of the highest rated movies on Letterboxd of all time, bro.
Yeah.
So I like Dune 1 more.
Understandable.
I'm a fan of world building, lore, introductions, and I've noticed my career of middle movies, the middle movie tends to low-key be the lower one for me. So bringing us to, this is Denis' Empire Strikes Back. No, it's not. It's not. We can't just keep calling every sequel that's good The Empire Strikes Back, because that's not what The Empire Strikes Back on. Like, it just wasn't that. The Empire Strikes Back took everything that the first movie, Star Wars: A New Hope, did, and it raised the bar to a different level where it was felt, and then ended the movie a little kind of crazy so that in that third movie you were ready to go into it. If we want to talk about Empire Strikes Back, let's look at something like Avatar: The Last Airbender Book 2. Book 2 is the Avatar Empire Strikes Back. What Dune 2 is someone that took the consistency level of their first movie and just continued that. So I understand, yeah, it's a great sequel, it's a phenomenal sequel, but I think this Empire Strikes Back level type of, which is also my least favorite of the original trilogy because I just like the intros and the exits. People need to relax, bro. People need to relax. I just think they're so uncomparable. Dune and Star Wars, just let's stop trying to pretend like they're meant to be the same thing because they're really not. George Lucas, Star Wars is, I don't want to say Dune isn't meant to be fun, but Star Wars is dead ass meant to be fun. It's not trying, like, it will tell you a deep story, but not the way Dune is trying to tell you this epic, deep, super dive into the human experience and this and that and this. Like, Star Wars at the end of the day was also just trying to be a fun laser show sometimes too, and that's okay. So, yeah. 9, I've enjoyed Dune 2. I liked 1 more. I really like 2, and Dune Messiah, I will be there for it, bro.
I think I'll raise you. You know, I'll match you on your not accurately fitting Empire Strikes Back, and I'll raise the bar up some too. I really think this is more like It Chapter 2. I feel like
people might not like that one, bro.
I don't care, and I'll say that, and this is why. I feel like people be like, "Do you like It?" You know, It's in my top 10. You know, and I don't put them as separate films. They take one spot together because it's the same thing that Dune is. It's one long book, one long story that's been made into 2 films. And that's how Stephen King wrote it. You get this childish expression and you get the mature expression of this conquering of fear. And I think that this movie does a similar dynamic in the way it's been split up by Denis. You know, it's you get 1 and you get 2, and 2 makes 1 better, in my opinion. It makes 1 a better film just by existing as a conclusion to the lore that was all built up. The climax of the buildup of the first film is the second film. But at the same time, the second film as a standalone film, if you've never seen the first film, it still goes stupid dumbo, bro. If it's still, because of what we talked about with cinematography, sound, writing, concepts, acting, high level, just everything pushed to 10, it's just like it stands really strong. So I understand people wanting to say that, but I see it more like it's the necessary conclusion to this book, but not the conclusion of this story in any way, shape, or form.
So will you in your mind see this Dune trilogy as a duology more than a trilogy?
I think so. I think I just, that's how the books are, you know. I mean, there's more beyond Messiah, but the thing is that Denis has taken his own spin on this with the introduction of Shani and switching that story, because in the book, Shani is a concubine that rocks with him. It isn't as against him coming to power as she is in the movie. So he's created his own lane here, and I'm excited to see what that means. Does that mean that the rules of Messiah are going to be broken and played different? Because Messiah is critically acclaimed as a trash book compared to the first book. It's not even that good. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited, but that's why I think duology might exist there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard that about Messiah. I've heard that the books following Messiah are where the Dune universe kind of becomes shaky. But I mean, Denis is on record for saying that Messiah will be his stopping point. When he makes it, he's not going further. He's not going to the rest of that legacy. So he sees a story to be told, and we're trusting him after these first 2. And we know that he's been planning for the future. The same way Zendaya was used in Dune 1, we have Anna Taylor-Joy being used for this, right? So how does that all come to play? What does Dune Messiah look like for us? What are we hoping for, right?
Yeah. Because I think I'm hoping. Go.
Yeah. Go. I mean, look, for me, I'm just saying, like, I don't necessarily think where this movie kind of goes from one point to the next. I think to use Empire Strikes Back, there needs to be a passage of time.
And there will be.
Right? because we know that Joy needs to play a role in the conflict for Messiah, or I'm assuming, because I haven't looked into what Messiah is about, other than the fact that I know
she does.
The story of Paul is not over, and it's not going to be looking great for him in terms of being a good person, because we know that he is not a good person. So just the dangers of Messiah, what we spoke about earlier with our themes. I need to see that conclude of why the Messiah existing in the first place, trusting in a prophet, was bad for everybody, not just the emperor and his squad. I'm talking everybody. Why this is a bad thing that they all brought upon themselves.
Yeah.
I need that, bro. That's all I really need, bro. And that, if that comes to pass, then this is a trilogy for the books.
I think it will. I think that Messiah is Herbert going and saying, a lot of y'all are not getting the fact that this man's not a good dude. And so I hear there's a lot of nuances kind of thrown to the wind. And it's just very literal in making sure you understand how not good Paul Atreides is. Now, again, man, Denis has created nuance from the beginning of this tale by adding this dynamic with Shani and all this stuff. There's room for the idea to land in a way that's more fulfilling in a cinematic sense. And that makes me excited to explore that. I want to see Paul's story conclude and it not feel abrupt or feel like I just watched one movie and the second movie, and it was one type of character, and in the third I see no connection. Like, how did he become so? Because that's what it's often talked about. It's like, he's just really a dark like bastard. Like, that's really what he is. That's crazy. In the first and second film, like we said, he's a false prophet. Does he believe himself when he says that it's propaganda? Does he actually believe himself when he claims that he's the voice from the outer world? When he's standing there and he takes the wife, he takes Princess Arulon right after telling her he loves her. There's this conflict in him as a character. I want to see it resolved in a way that's meaningful. I don't want it to be corny or forced in a direction that it's like, we're going to give you this because that's what you want. And I think that's what Denis did. He protected himself as a storyteller. He could tell whatever the hell kind of story he wants. They're going to give him all the money. He can go up with it, and I'm there. I'll be there for it. Because no matter how the story goes down, it's going to be told to the nth degree by Denis, from the sound, the cinematography, the writing, the themes, and the acting. Super excited. All in all, bro, I'm glad to be a part of this moment in cinematic history. I'm glad I can go back and say, yeah, I saw that movie twice in the theater when my kids asked me about it later in the future. This was that type of film, for real, 100%. And yeah, man, I loved it. I thought it was really good. Any last thoughts for Dune 2?
I think that I'm going to have to watch these two movies again. In a few months, more removed from it, gain understanding, look into it. But I mean, I don't regret going to watch them. I also don't regret not having seen the first one in theaters. I think I'm watching this at the right time. And I think that, I'm not as tied in as everybody else, clearly. I'm not necessarily as locked in or as passionate about what's being told here as some other people. And I mean, that's okay. I'm the general audience member, right?
Right.
So Dune 2 was an enjoyable experience. It's the best movie I've seen from 2024 so far. And I'll be interested to see what can maybe top it if it's possible, and what movies this might shove under the rug, unfortunately, because we know that sometimes happens too. The big releases, Oppenheimer, means that the smaller holdovers don't get their chance to shine the way they deserve.
Sometimes. So some people got some love.
I'm interested.
I feel you, bro. It's a great opportunity to talk through Denis, another one of Denis' masterpieces. Shout outs to him, man. Consistency level 9,000. Just really dope to see that from him, and excited for anything he does. I'm glad to hear that this Dune Messiah will not be his next film. He's gonna go do something else first. He needs a break, and I like that. Give me something else. I'll be there. We'll be there to watch it, especially us here at CUZZO-OP. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of CUZZO-OP, episode 61, baby. We we still going up. We got more coming this year. Want to talk about Imaginary Friends? Want to talk about Kill the Justice League Suicide Squad? You know, we want to even talk about Guy Ritchie's new film. We're going to be here. We're going to be here having conversations about movie, video games, and TV, because that's just what we do. Every time you tune into an episode of CUZZO-OP, this is what you'll find. Two cousins, one podcast, and endless entertainment. Peace.